Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable right here at Facebook at Star Nations Organization's main fan page. This is where I do all of my live stream shows is from the main fan page. And I move my camera over a little bit. There we go. And welcome. This is Wednesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. Wednesday, July 10th. And here I'm broadcasting from Star Nations Academy. This is the physical school where we teach classes from. And it happens to be just west of my home. It's on the same property, but just west of the home and about a good country block, right? And I get to look out the windows here because we have a lot of them here. But it's so gorgeous out. Oh my gosh, the sun's out and there's a light breeze and it is a beautiful day. It's like, I don't know, 80 degrees or so. Perfect. No, very low humidity and yeah, it's good stuff. Especially when you have natural curly hair, right? Sometimes the humidity can do a job on your hair. And why do I say that? Because mine looks straight, right? Right? It's not always that way. No, it's not. So welcome, and you know what? I'm in our partners at Be Live TV. They have launched the new Studio 2 version, and I have been doing a couple of shows from here, and I'm so grateful you guys are hanging in there with me with it because. Yeah, not everything is where it used to be. And before I get too far down the road with anything, I am going to find our live stream and I am going to like it and I'm going to sprinkle it over to my news feed. Okay, hang on, just takes a moment. And I would invite you to do the same thing, is to take the live stream and maybe send it over to a friend or maybe even put it on your timeline. If you find this information useful and helpful, you know, this is what I share with my friends, is that whenever we find a post, a video, a book, a magazine, anything that we find helpful and useful to our spiritual growth, right? That to share it, to send it over to a friend. Why? I kind of see it as a light worker or energy workers, kind of like a civic duty, right? Because if you found it interesting and helpful, then someone else out there is looking for it too. And so why not make it a little bit easier for the next person, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this live stream over to my timeline and letting my friends know I'm live streaming. And then I'm going to ask them to come out to play. In the live chat. There we go. And we'll put a little emoticon on there. Now, I don't know if Stephanie is going to be here. I'm not sure. I'm going to share it over to the closed group, one of the closed groups, I should say, over to the network. And I'm just going to let the peeps know that I'm live streaming. There we go. And got to spell correctly. Oops. Well, you don't get the right word if you don't spell it correctly. There we go. There. Now let's see.
Bonjour, everyone.
Oh, gotta turn down my sound. That would be good, huh? Okay. Yeah. All right. Just getting used to this new studio. Let's see who's here. Hey, Julie's here. Let's see. Hello, Julie. Good to have you here. It's always good to see you in the chat. Really, really good. And Andrea's here too. Good afternoon, Andrea. Good to have you here. I'm getting used to this new studio. One of the things that it's the same but different is the chat. in the classic studio, the very first one, um, the um, the messages would come in just a little bit differently. Yeah, and so I'm getting used to that. And let's see, I was going to have where? No, I thought I knew where it was. There it is. I forgot to create my agenda. I used to have them stored. And they're not there anymore. So I'm going to have to redo it. Oh my goodness. Hey, look who else just popped in. Hello, Rob. Good to have you here. It's always good to see you in the chat, too. It's good. So today, Wednesday, July 10th, right? It's a good day in the Star Nations neighborhood. Why? Because we published the July issue of Star Nations magazine this morning. Yay! Yay! Yeah, it's been, I'm going to do a special live stream just on the magazine and the backstories and that sort of thing. But I think you guys are really going to like this issue. It's so pretty, and I know I'm partial. It's like one of my kids, right? I know I'm partial, but it's so pretty. It is so pretty. The pictures that are in there. Many of us wrote about sunsets because that was one of the topics, and it's so pretty. I can't wait for you guys to see it. What I could do is show you the cover, though, right? I could do that. Hang on. I get to try something new. Something new. Is that the one I want? Yeah, that's the one I want. Okay. It's loading. It just takes a little bit. One of the nice changes for our partners in Be Live is that we can actually take pictures directly from our hard drives now. We don't have to go through Facebook and create these elaborate albums and that sort of thing. And so here it is. Wait, let me change the background. It's gonna be hard to see. And okay. It was supposed to go to none. Okay, then we'll change it to that one instead. There. All right. So that is the cover of the July issue. Isn't that a gorgeous, gorgeous sunset? I have a thing about sunset and sunrises, right? But this is, yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Publishing day is just, yeah, it's just a happy day. And it's more than just because we're putting out a product. I mean, it is that, but it's happiness for me because all the contributing writers are sharing their hearts and their wisdom with our readers, and it's yeah, it makes me happy to be able to provide the venue for that. Yay, yay. It's good stuff. We'll tell you more about that. I don't know. Usually Stephanie puts it into the chat. Hang on, I think I can do it. All right, I think we can do it. This is just the quick short links and stuff for the magazine. I'm not going to do anything really elaborate. But that way you guys have the links to it. So anyway, it's a good day. And we have the card draw too, right? We have the card draw too. And for those who may not know what deck we're using, that we're currently using, this is the one that we're currently using. And we've been using this since the first week of June. It's Spirit of the Wheel by Linda Iwashina and illustrated by Jody Bergsma. And this is all about the medicine wheel from the perspective of the Pacific Northwest. Right? Yeah, and so it's kind of nice to be able to experience that from another perspective, because there's only one medicine wheel, but there's many different ways of interpreting it, and because there's, oh my goodness, just in the United States alone, 568 federally recognized nations, right? And there's many more that are not federally recognized. They're still tribal nations. They still have a language. They still have some form of government. They're just not they just don't meet the criteria that the federal government lays out. And when you add Canada to that, there's thousands of indigenous nations, and each one of them have a connection to the medicine wheel in some way, right? Now, George isn't even here. He's in, my puppy is in puppy daycare, and I've got his hair floating around. My goodness. And so there's different ways of interpreting or explaining the medicine wheel, depending on where you live and what your tribal nation, their belief system is around it. So we're getting a peek at a belief system coming out of the Pacific Northwest, right? Actually, both ladies are from British Columbia. Still part of Turtle Island. Still a part of Turtle Island. So this is cards that we have had before, and yeah, but in a different combination. So let's see what kind of conversation we can have around this, okay? All right, so the first card that came, we only have 2 today, because usually, I have like 3 and sometimes 4 cards, and it's trying to fit that all into an hour. Sometimes I have to talk rather fast. So this is the first card. It's cleansing. Cleansing. Oh, let me move my name. Cleansing. It's this spirit path of the north. Spirit path of the north. Some of you might recognize it, remember it. It's all about releasing burdens, detoxification, and energy flow. Right? So, spirit path of the north. That's the direction of the cardinal direction of north on the medicine wheel. And they place the bear in the north. This is the 29th stone in the placement in the creation of the medicine wheel that the author uses. Right? 29. So that's 11. That's a master number, right? And number 11 in the numerology that I study is about mastering the physical world. And and so if you have a master number that's 11, it's all about learning about your gifts and how you can master the physical world, the physicalness. Yeah. And so in the north, you have the stone people, right? You have the star beings, the star nations. And that's the figure that we have in the background. In the background is representing the star nations. It's about winter. And it's about going within, right? It's about going within the energy of the north. It's cold, right? And many animals, many of our relatives, they hibernate. They sleep through that time frame, and the bear is the one that represents that the most. Yeah. So very interesting. So how many people in the live chat have bear as a power animal or a totem? Power animal or a totem? Because a lot of that has to do with, well, depending on your belief system, right? For mine, my relatives, my grandmother, my Gaga, she was Ho Chunk, and in the Ho Chunk, and also in the Potawatomi, bear is much of that is about protection, and peace. They're the peacekeepers. The Bear Clan is the peacekeepers. Yeah, and Rob says that he does. Is that a power animal or a totem, Rob? Do you know? Um, and so, so think about the qualities of a bear, right? Yeah, they're tall, and they're very protective of their children, aren't they? Of their offspring. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the image in the background here, right? I want to count something here. Let's see. All right. So there's that represents the star beams. Some might call them kachinas. But in the headdress that this being has on, there's 4 feathers at the very top, right? So representing, the 4 seasons, the 4 directions, the 4 elements. And so in the also in the north, for the medicine wheel that I've lived by, the north is about the physicalness, right? It's about earth, the physical world. Yeah. Very interesting. I sat for a little while with this card, holding it, looking at the imagery, and it was the star beam that kind of jumped out at me as being important this time around. Okay. So let's see what the author has to say about this card as a refresher for some of you, right? It says that the cleansing card signifies a time to release some of your heavy burdens and responsibilities. Cleansing means detoxifying on every level, all right, in all 4 of your bodies: your spiritual, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual bodies, right? All 4 of them. Over time, burdens create negativity and fatigue, which continue to build if we don't release them and breathe our way into a cleaner, healthier lifestyle. It says, learn to live in the moment and move along with life circumstances instead of fighting them, rather than resisting them. Sometimes we can't change the circumstances that occur within our lives, but we do have control over our reactions to them, right? So here is part of that grounding thing that we talk about all the time, right? Have you grounded today? Have you grounded today? If you haven't, you might want to pause for a moment and do your grounding. Because when we're grounded, right? When we're grounded, no matter what's going on around us, we stand a better chance in staying out of the drama and trauma of it all. Right? We might be the witness to it. We might be a direct participant in it, but it doesn't mean that you have to go through it in a unbalanced way. Right? And sometimes, what about this? Sometimes that is your role in the situation that's occurring. Right? And so, and if you don't ground, the situation can get kind of out of hand and might affect you a little bit more than it would otherwise, right? And so grounding twice a day for most people, twice a day at least. Some people a little bit more. You can always check in with yourself and sense, how do I feel? Do I feel grounded? Do I feel wobbly? Do I feel disconnected? Kind of thing. Right? Yeah. And what I liked about this particular message is about it's about releasing, right? The cleansing, the detoxification. But let's talk about releasing those burdens just for a little bit. Releasing those burdens. For those that have been following this live stream, this show from the beginning nearly, you know that we've been through many, many decks of cards, right? And in one of the decks of cards that we used, it was called the Sacred Path deck. And in that deck, there was a card called the Burden Basket, B-U-R-D-E-N, Burden Basket. And in that deck, it talked about how the Osheti Sakoi, which is the Great Sioux Nation, that they have a belief, the ancestors did, that they would hang a basket on the outside of the door. Okay. And this basket isn't huge because it's the basket that the women wore. It was kind of like a backpack, right? So that would free up their hands to be able to do the gathering of firewood. And that's what it was for, was to bring firewood for whatever meal they were making. But when it wasn't in use, they would hang it on the outside of the door. Why? Because when somebody would come to visit, the intention was that they would leave their burdens on the outside of the home and put them energetically, spiritually into the burden basket. So that when they went in to visit, they weren't offloading or dumping their burdens onto this other person, right? And so the conversation wasn't completely taken up by their burden or burdens, what's going on in their lives, that they're carrying around with them. They're usually the dramas and the traumas, right? And so that would leave room for, in the conversation, to hear about, each other, what's happening with you, or maybe they were talking about something that was going on with a project that they're working on, And so the burden basket was all about, for a short while, is to place your burdens over here so that you can experience life and communication with another person without that running around in the background or in the front as you're talking about the story over and over and over, right? The burden basket. And so this is very similar to that. The thing about this one is that you're just not taking it away for a short period of time. You're actually detoxifying. You're cleansing. You're clearing. And in order to do that, many times with burdens, we have to heal. We have to, the best thing you can do is go to the root. Go to the root of the burden. And why is it a burden, right? And call on your spiritual team to come help you with it. If you need a healer, ask them. Ask them to send you the best healer possible for your optimal health, and to bring the resources for it too, because you have to have an energy exchange, right, with that healer. So you're working on your healing process. Burdens. And it's, I'm not even, we all have them, right? We all have some sort of burden, whether it's a little one or if it's a gigantic one. We all have them. It's, I think, a part of our experience here on Earth, that we get to learn from them too, as we release them, as we send them on their way. All right, Andrea is saying, I think the card is especially referring to those stubborn burdens that are hard to budge sometimes. I do too, Andrea. I do too. I think that it's those ones that maybe have connections to belief systems, right, that are in place. Whether we learned something from our parents or from our culture or from our environment where we grew up, right? And so they're kind of embedded, and this burden becomes a block, really, to energy, right? And I do believe that's why they include the energy flow in here, because once you release that burden, it's just not the burden that you're releasing, that it's whatever has caused the burden. And so you might be looking at part of your belief system and what's holding this burden in place. I like that, what you said, Andrea, the stubborn burdens. Yeah, I agree. Oops, I'm sorry, Rob. There we go. It says, not sure, probably more of a power animal, maybe more. Okay. If you'd like me to douse on it for you, I can. Just let me know if you'd like that. Okay, Rob? Andrea is also saying, the burden basket is such a good idea. We often download onto our friends, don't we? Yes, we do. We do. And, I know that there's people in our lives that truly care about us, that they love us, right? And they want to be helpful. And we do the same thing for them, right? But what does it feel like to you, even when it's one of your inner circle friends, right? The ones that are really close to you, and they come, or it's on a telephone, right? And they are offloading their burden to you. And so you hear the full story, right, of whatever it is that happened. And to the point that you can't even get a word in edgewise, And one of the telling signs for me is they don't even ask how you are. They don't ask what's going on in your life, right? Because they're so consumed with this burden. And I know that they're trying to find a way to release it, to get it off, right? But passing it off to another person energetically isn't going to release it. You just basically dump literally all over your friend, and I think that we've all experienced that at some point, right? And as much as we love them and we want to help them, they're not really allowing the moments in there where you can actually maybe ask them a question, or maybe offer some insight, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Andrea is also saying burdens equal energy blocks. Well, that makes sense. I think so. And I think that's one of the reasons why Spirit brought this card to us, is for us to take a look at whatever burden that when you turn your attention to it makes you feel ill, right? Some are sad or angry or yeah. And that's the one that we need to work on. And whether it's you don't want to work on it because there might be a confrontation you believe that's in part of that. Maybe you have to address it with another person, friend, family member, employer, coworkers. And so you kind of put it off and you put it off and you put it off. And what happens is because you're putting so much thought and energy into it, it begins to grow. It begins to grow. And then it starts affecting a larger portion of your life, right? How many people have lost sleep over something like that, right? How am I going to handle this? And then you conjure all kinds of things with your mental mind on how it could possibly go. And sometimes, it kind of, even that kind of grows out of proportion too. Because you haven't even addressed it, and yet you're creating these scenarios that could possibly happen. Right? So we put a lot of our energies into it. That's why it becomes fatigued. That's why you feel your physical energy take a dive, because we're spending so much time on it, so much energy. We're literally keeping it alive by sending it our energy. So with the detoxification, once you identify a part of your life that may have this burden in it, and maybe you already know which one it is, right? Yeah. Then you can just call it to your team. How am I supposed to deal with this? I would like to release it. I would like to clear it out. I would like to make more room in my life for more positive and happy things to happen than to keep this in place and take up a lot of energy and space for that. Talk to them. Ask them, show me how to do this. What's my next best step? Yeah. And I've been doing this a lot lately. And I'm also adding in there, and please send me the resources for it too. Send me the optimal healer. Send me the optimal whatever it is in my path, so that I can begin releasing this. Right? Okay. So did Rob hasn't replied yet. Okay. So now this author has a prayer that she writes for each of the cards. And so here's the prayer for the cleansing. Prayer for the cleansing. Make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. It says, I open my mind, body, and spirit to the cleansing I need. Through the release of my burdens, I am more open to love and support of myself and others. That's nice. I open my mind, body, and spirit to the cleansing I need. Through the release of my burdens, I am more open to the love and support of myself and others. Yeah. And because we're not using our energy, our personal energy, to keep this thing alive and going, it frees up our energy for other things. We don't have to feel fatigued about it. You can end up using that energy to create something else, right? Yeah. I like that. So you don't have to write it in the chat if you don't want to, but just take just a moment to identify what is that, what could it be, what burden is taking a lot of my energy, and just identify it. Just identify it, and then it's up to you. It's your choice on if you want to deal with it. Yeah, those burdens. Okay, let's move on to the next card. And the next card is called Stone of the Ancestors. Stone of the Ancestors. It's about the higher good, guidance, and choice. Yeah. So we have an ancestor there, right? And as I was looking at this card this morning, one of the things I noticed is this little guy right here. Do you know what that is? Oh, I wish my camera would stay focused. That is a thunderbird. And we just had thunderbird yesterday, right? This is number 14 in the stone placement. And so that is a 5. Numerology. And 5 is all about change, right? Transformation. And so when I thought about that in conjunction with the cleansing card and the detoxification, what we're doing is we're changing. We're changing the energy flow in our life, right? We're changing where we place our energy. We're making a decision to detoxify, to clear out and release and heal from the burdens that we've been carrying. And so that's going to make a change in your life. And it's for the highest good. It's for your highest good. Because whatever you do with this, when you release that burden, it's going to have a ripple effect. Because when we're carrying around a burden, yes, it's affecting us, but there's others involved in it, right? It normally includes someone else. So you're affecting their life too. And you're affecting the lives of the people around you and your family and where you work. Because when you release that burden and your personal energy is flowing, right? You're going to be different. You're going to be different. Your energy field is going to feel different. And so you're going to affect others around you. You're going to affect the energy of your home and of your work life. It's not just a little thing. It's kind of like, I don't know why. All right. I've hardly ever played this game. And they keep showing me the Jenga. Is that how you say it? Jenga game? You know how you slide out a piece, right? And it affects the other pieces around it? Something like that. Yeah. All right. Andrea is saying, I have childhood and mother burdens, so hard to budge because it's so deep in our programming. Oh, okay. Which means that it's taken a lot of your energy, and it has for a long time. Do you feel, Andrea, that it's also generational? In other words, that, because we have the ancestor card here, right? Is that how your ancestors, is that how it was passed down from one generation to another? Because, with this healing, if you choose to do it and to get to the root of it, to get it released, cleansed, detoxified, right? Yeah, your pebble in the pond isn't just going to affect your current life, but it's also going to be healing for your ancestors. And when you do that, it also affects your descendants. So if you have children, right, they don't have to carry that around if it's a generational thing. They don't have to carry it around, and neither do their children. And so they won't even carry it might be a memory, maybe not. What they'll carry is the wisdom from it rather than the trauma of it. Ooh, that one's big, Andrea. That one's big, big, big. Because it feels like you could be the cycle disruptor. If you make the decision to really clear this out, detoxify it, release that burden, that yes, it's going to affect your life and your ancestors' life for sure, right? Their energy field. But your descendants, they get to carry the wisdom from that experience. That's what you're passing down to them. That's what you're passing down to them. They won't have to carry the trauma or the drama of it. That's big medicine. Big, big medicine. Oh, look who's here. Jocelyn's here. Hello, Jocelyn. It's always good to see you in the chat. I'm glad you're here. So this is actually the second card. And we were just looking at the picture, the illustration. And so we see this is smoke coming up, right? Smoke. But if you look down in the corners where they have the artwork in the corners there, if we can get it to focus even, that would be good. Oh, there we go. Doesn't it look like a phoenix? Or it looks like animals in there. It also looks like there's a face. I see a face. So let's just say that there's spirit in that smoke that's rising, right? Yeah. Stone of the ancestors. And I also thought stone, stone people, their energy is in the north. And so is our ancestors' energy in the north. So the feeling I had was that my spiritual team, they really, really wanted us to take in the energy, the spirit of the north, and all that the north can help us with, right? All that the north can help us with. All right, so here's what the author has to say. She says, listen carefully to the sacred messages around you. When the spirit of the ancestors call to you, there is much at stake. The Stone of the Ancestors card teaches you that every decision you make and every action you take, either indirectly or directly, affects another. It is like a pebble thrown in the water, forming ripples and spreading outwards. Consider the consequences to your future. The ancestors help us distinguish what is worth holding on to and what we should be letting go of. If you have any doubts, call upon the ancestor wisdom to help you make the best decision. When your decisions carry a purpose beyond just the self, You can be assured the ancestors will be pleased. That does not mean giving up on what you want, but it does require thinking about the ripple effect before you toss that pebble. Yeah? And wait, what I'm going to do is give you the prayer before we go on to the next piece, okay? So the prayer that goes with this card is, guide me, Spirit of the ancestors, to know my place within this world and be aware that everything I do affects others. Provide me with the courage to fulfill my destiny and to evolve towards the higher road. Yeah. As energy workers, light workers, we all have been trained. We all know. We remember from past lifetimes that when we're doing our work, right, that it's that we include and it's for the highest good, for the highest good, for the highest good of all, right? So that when you're doing your work, you're grounded and centered, and you're working from your heart, right? That ripple effect that you're helping either with yourself or someone else is going out in a good way. Okay, Andrea, she said, yes, passed down through the generations. Well, that widens the scope of things. I better get to work. I know, I know. But you know what? If you weren't up to it, if you didn't have exactly what you need to do it, it would never even have crossed your radar. You would have never even gave it a thought. It would have never appeared in any parts of your life if you weren't ready. So, yeah, and the thing is that there are many of us sitting there with something very similar. I think, Andrea, you're not on your own with that one. So here's the two cards together, right? But I can see how the ancestor card really supports us in the message from the first card, right? And this is all about the spirit of the north. Right? And part of the spirit of the north is about the physical. It's about the earth, the element earth. And so in many ways, we're also being told um, that grandmother earth definitely is supporting us in this, right? That when we're ready to do the work for this, your grounding is important because she loves us. She loves you and would be more than happy to help us move through this. So that in this 11 number here, numerology, that we're remembering how we can use our gifts to master the physical plane, right? Because when we give up those burdens, when we do the releasing and healing from it frees up our energy so that we can create other things. It makes energetic room for something else to come into your life. And that is always for the highest good. The ancestors can give us guidance with that, and help us make the best choice possible. So that, because whatever we do, we affect so much around us. Yeah. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Gotta take a drink. Iced tea. Now I have to think of something here. I want to make sure I get the placement right. So at the top of the wheel, I wonder, hang on, I'm going to check something out here. I'm going to get to our, see, I want to see this. This is the medicine wheel diagram that Linda E. Washina uses to lay out her medicine wheel. Okay. And so here you see, I don't know if you can see my pointer. No, you can't, rats. But in the north at the top of the wheel, the second stone in is 29, which is the cleansing. Right? And I was just looking for 14. And I know it's there. Oh, 14 is off to the side. Those are power stones, she calls them. Must be because it's an ancestor. Yeah. And we got January. This is January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. No, that can't be right. It's January, April, May, June, July. Okay, I had to do this on the wheel that I use. Okay, so July, the month of July is in due south. Due south. And so here we are at the southern part of the wheel. And the red road, or some know it by the good red road, goes from the south to the north. From the south to the north. And so we're taking all of the wisdom that we've gained from our life experiences, our life lessons, right? And we take it with us, that wisdom, when we're heading north back to our community to be in service to our community, utilizing the wisdom that we gain. And how do we do that? It comes through our gifts. It's our soul expression through our gifts. And so it's interesting, I think, that here we're sitting in July and we get these two cards all about the north. Right? And it's all about the north. Pull it back just a bit. It's very interesting. It's no coincidence and no mistake, that's for sure, that we would get this card today. And so Andrea is also saying guidance and choice sure seems like a good way to stop letting burdens affect us. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's an opportunity too, right? It's an opportunity to that's placed before us. It's a choice. It's a choice. We can identify what burden it is that is affecting us the most, and so that we can release it, detoxify, heal it, let it go. That's a choice, because you can choose not to do it. You can choose not to do it, and you'll still be placing your energy in that direction, but that's a choice. Yeah. Being human, being a two-leg, jeez, we can make things complicated, can't we? But that's the card draw for today, and the information that Spirit wanted us to know about for our highest good, right? For our highest good. So whatever resonated with you today about this, whether it's a word or a phrase or the whole thing, my suggestion is to embrace it. Embrace it and see, sense, or feel how today's energy unfolds for you and where this information could be helpful. Right? Yeah, helpful. And if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Because everything we hear, everything we read in its entirety isn't always necessarily for us, right? You could read an entire book and it might be only a sentence that resonated with you, a word that resonated with you, but not the whole book, right? Yeah. And so maybe you're the messenger. Maybe that's your role in that, is that maybe you know somebody. Maybe it could be a friend or a family member who's been looking for this kind of information, or possibly this kind of spiritual community. And you can just share the live stream with them, the recorded show with them, right? And then you're done. You can go like this. Done. You did your part. Yeah. And so, we've got a couple things coming up this week for you guys, right? We got a couple things. This is the biggest one right now, today, because we published today. I have so much fun on publishing day. I do. It's a very happy day for me. When I hit the publish button and then I start sending it out, and I get to send an email to the writers, thanking them and touching base with them, it's a happy day. But this is the biggest news. Published the July issue. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I want to do that. There we go. And so tonight's Wednesday night, and it's Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. Yeah, that's at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, the first half of that show is all about a healing meditation. So if you're looking at working on releasing and the burdens, or even just to identify them, is to start your healing process around that. This is a great show, the Soul Connections this evening, to be able to tap into that, because you bring that intention with you, and you'll call in your spiritual team, and you and your team get to work on it together. What Polly Jo does is that she leads the meditation, right? Because it's guided. But what she does is she creates the sacred container for us and holds that. And she and her team, if we need assistance, they work with us through our team to help us to release whatever needs to be released. And it can be a very powerful evening because we're all there together, right, in the collective. And then the second half is all about the individual card draw. So if you enjoy getting a mini reading from cards, Polly Jo will draw a card for you and give you the reading. That's the second half. Yeah. And anybody who wants a card will get a card. She keeps going until everyone has gotten a card who has asked for one. So I think the highest number she's read in one evening was 56. 56 cards. And I produce her show, so it's I was there for every single one of them. Okay, and then Thursday we have we have this show at 3 p.m. right, Eastern time, and then we also have Life Wisdom with Ed Langen. And Ed is going to be talking to us about manifesting, and because he's a law of attraction expert, and he's also going to be doing some tapping, EFT, to help us remove and release any of the blocks that we have around manifesting. Yeah, I just want to make sure I got all my notes here. And I did. We got one last thing, and on Thursday night is at the Star Nations Academy Facebook closed group. Okay, the closed group for the Academy at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is the monthly free mini class, right? It's a mini class, so we don't get into, like really deep stuff. It's really about covering the basics and getting to know some of the teachers here at Star Nations. So, on Thursday night is all about the meditation. We had several people from our community ask for a mini class about meditation and how you can stay in your meditation when you may have disruptors on the outside, whether it's noises or perhaps the phone ringing or those intrusive thoughts, those kinds of things. And so Orchard and Carl Franklin will be with us. They're our elders here at Star Nations. And Orchard is a meditation guide expert. And so she'll be giving us some nice information about that. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not a member of the closed group, that's okay. Just go to Star Nations Academy closed group and ask to join. And either Julie Shumway Hill or I will be able to set you up to be able to be there. But please do that before Thursday, let's say morning, by noon, no matter what time zone you're in, by noon, okay? So that Julie and I have time to be able to check it and get that done for you. Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour, and I like being with you guys. I enjoy our time together in the afternoons. Spiritual Roundtable goes from Sunday to Thursday. It leaves me a couple of days to work on publishing stuff for Star Nations, and so tomorrow, Thursday, will be our last day for the week, and so why don't you come and join me? Okay, we always have a good conversation, don't we? You're welcome, Andrea. You're very welcome. It's good to have you here. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for the Spiritual Roundtable at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay? Bama Mina. That means until we see each other again in Potawatomi. Love you guys.